Hey, I'm Bacon, and I did an oopsie. In the original recording of this video, I had confused some of my paraphrasing with direct quotes because I'm a complete idiot and need to keep better track of my damn notes, so I'm re-recording. While nothing I said was factually incorrect, I want to be very clear with where I'm paraphrasing. This is a lesson learned and it will not happen moving forward. As a result, the original video has been deleted from YouTube, for which I apologize. I know a bunch of comments went with it, and I am deeply grateful for them, but they have unfortunately been deleted as a collateral consequence. I will remind everyone here that I'm not going to be indicating any sort of schedule since I missed the mark so wildly from the first to the second video, and I'm re-recording the second video. But I am going to aim for regular releases in the foreseeable future because this is really what I'm focused on. So now let's get to the revised script. In the intro video of this series, I made the following claim, quote, "The resultant stories that emerge from role-playing game campaigns are archetypal in their own right. They can result from shared, universal patterns of human experience," end quote. And then I followed that up with, quote, "I know just asserting this without providing the work can be meaningless," end quote. Bold of me to just skip over the work, huh? So let's remedy that. What is the difference between a story and a myth? Is there even a difference? It's important to establish this up front because it'll make all the other topics I plan on addressing fit more snugly with the thesis. According to the Jungian tradition, there is a significant difference between a story and a myth, although they are closely related. This distinction lies in their origin, depth of meaning, purpose, universality, and connection to ritual. Number 1, origin. Paraphrasing Marie-Louise von Franz, one of Jung's most notable students, in her work Archetypal Dimensions of the Psyche, stories often stem from personal or cultural creativity, reflecting the storyteller's conscious intentions. In contrast, myths are manifestations of archetypes from the collective unconscious, arising from shared human experiences and containing a timeless, universal resonance. In other words, a story is created consciously, shaped by the storyteller's intentions and imagination, and often lacking the depth of universal resonance that myths provide via the collective unconscious. According to Jung, in the Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, myths emerge from the collective unconscious. This is where Marie-Louise von Franz bases her work, which is the collection of universal human experiences. They are not consciously created, but are manifestations of archetypes, primordial patterns or symbols that reflect fundamental human experiences and truths which often find expressions through imagination and creativity. TTRPGs are co-created by players and game masters. While the rules, settings, and modules are consciously designed, the collaborative, imaginative process often draws from archetypal themes unconsciously. For example, players may instinctively, during roleplay, create characters that embody archetypes like the hero, the magician, or the trickster without intentionally doing so. While TTRPGs are consciously created frameworks, their emergent narratives often originate in the channeling of archetypes of the collective unconscious. 2. Depth of meaning. According to Jung in Man and His Symbols, the function of myth is to reveal the deeper layers of human nature. He contrasts this with stories which may or may not engage with these depths. Stories often convey entertainment, moral lessons, or specific cultural values. Their meaning is typically tied to its characters, plot, and the context in which they're told. It can resonate on a symbolic level, but does not necessarily engage with the deeper, universal aspects of the human psyche. Myths, according to Jung, operate on a much deeper level. They are symbolic narratives that embody universal truths and represent the core conflicts, aspirations, and mysteries of human existence, and evoke profound psychological and spiritual insights. And again, Marie-Louise von Franz, in The Interpretation of Fairy Tales, highlights how myths transcend personal meaning to connect with archetypal universal truths, unlike many individual stories that are bound to the storyteller's conscious intent. The depth of meaning in TTRPGs depends heavily on the players and the GM. A lighthearted, comedic, or murder hobo campaign may remain purely entertaining, pushing it out of the classification of myth. But campaigns that focus on moral dilemmas, personal growth, or confronting fears delve into archetypal struggles, pushing it into the classification of myth. In fact, the most recent game I was a part of, GM'd by beloved and respected channel guest Ben Rimmer, began this transformation in an almost palpable way. It left an impact on all the participants as a result. Shameless plug, I would encourage you to go please watch the live stream where Ben presents the breakdown on this very channel. Back on track, while TTRPGs can be purely entertaining, they frequently engage with archetypes and evoke symbolic meaning, especially when the narrative explores themes of transformation and individuation such as morality, identity, power, loss, and community. While a campaign might not explicitly claim to be mythic, the narrative of slaying a dragon, reclaiming lost treasure, or protecting a village has deep symbolic resonance. Additionally, players' choices and character arcs can function as symbolic journeys of self-discovery and personal growth, reflecting the process of individuation. 3. Purpose. In The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Joseph Campbell describes a story as more bound to individual or cultural needs, while Erich Neumann, another of Jung's most notable students, in The Origins and History of Consciousness, states that stories seek a more didactic or entertainment-driven purpose. While some stories may offer a window into human nature or social norms, their scope is narrower than that of myth. Jung says in Symbols of Transformation that myths serve a transformative purpose, and this is echoed by Neumann, again in The Origins and History of Consciousness, where he discussed the symbolic and psychic transformation embedded in myth and describes them as symbols of psychic evolution and individuation. Paraphrasing these two authors, myths connect the individual to the collective, universal human experience contained in the collective unconscious, helping people make sense of their place in the world. They guide psychological growth and individuation, which is again Jung's process of integrating one's conscious and unconscious aspects to achieve wholeness. TTRPGs often straddle the line between entertainment and personal transformation. On the surface, they serve as a form of escapism and recreation, but the immersive and interactive nature of TTRPGs frequently fosters personal insights and psychological growth. A character's arc may symbolically mirror a player's real-life struggles, facilitating growth or catharsis. While TTRPGs begin as entertainment, and their capacity to evolve into mythic experiences depends on the tone, narrative focus, and player engagement, as previously stated, comedic or purely escapist campaigns exist outside the possibility of becoming mythic. Those that do explore moral dilemmas, personal growth, or archetypal struggles have the potential to achieve mythic resonance. 4. Universality. A story is more specific to its cultural or historical context. It reflects the unique concerns of a particular group of people or the imagination of a single creator. Jung explains in Psychological Aspects of the Core that myths arise from the same primordial images across all cultures, accounting for their universality. Stories, however, may contain elements of these archetypes without achieving universal resonance. Joseph Campbell explores in The Hero with a Thousand Faces the universality of the monomyth and how mythic patterns are shared across cultures because they emerge from a common unconscious source. This distinguishes myth from culturally specific or individual stories. Mircea Eliade, a contemporary of and collaborator with Jung, whose work inspired Jung himself, discusses in Myth and Reality how myths, unlike stories, speak to everyone because they recount the sacred and timeless history of humanity, whereas stories reflect transient cultural concerns. Myths are universal in scope. They are found in all cultures and often share striking similarities. These similarities point to their origin in the collective unconscious. Truly, the settings and themes of TTRPGs often have cultural specificity. D&D mostly draws on Western fantasy tropes, for example. However, The underlying narratives, overcoming adversity, seeking redemption, battling inner and outer demons, are universal. Campaigns frequently resemble the monomyth or other mythic structures such as the quest, the shamanic journey, the duality, and others, making them relatable across cultures. The specific details of TTRPG settings may be culturally tied, but the archetypal narratives they evoke are universal. Number 5, connection to ritual and religion. Stories may be secular or religious, but they are not inherently tied to rituals or sacred practices. Myth, on the other hand, has a deep and inextricable connection to ritual. Mircea Eliade's work is foundational in understanding this. Paraphrasing, he wrote that rituals reenact sacred time and allow participants to live mythic events, thus connecting with the archetypal realm. Jung, in turn, says that rites and ceremonies are the enactment of archetypal images, expressing the essential experiences of human life. They renew the connection with the deeper layers of the psyche, highlighting that rituals create a direct link between archetypes and participants, enabling transformation by engaging the unconscious. Subsequently, in The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Campbell says that in sacred rites, the participants are drawn into the myth. They enact the hero's journey not as observers, but as players in the drama of the cosmos, emphasizing that rituals allow individuals to experience archetypal narratives, transforming myth itself from a passive story into an active, lived event. In the interpretation of fairy tales, von Franz says the symbolic act within a ritual allows the archetypal images of the collective unconscious to be experienced directly by the participants, transforming the psyche, anchoring mythic content in tangible actions, fostering direct engagement with archetypes, and providing impetus for individuation. While TTRPGs are not explicitly religious, they often have a quasi-ritualistic structure. Players gather in a designated space, assume roles, and engage in a shared symbolic experience. This mirrors the participatory and ritualistic aspects of myth as discussed by Eliade. Additionally, the collaborative nature of TTRPGs fosters a sense of communal meaning-making, much like ancient mythic rituals, as discussed by both Campbell and Eliade. Though secular, TTRPGs often function as modern rituals that create symbolic meaning and foster communal bonds, aligning them more closely with myths. In summary, a story is a product of the individual or collective conscious mind, offering insight, entertainment, or lessons tied to a specific context. A myth, in contrast, is a symbolic expression of the collective unconscious, rooted in archetypes and addressing the timeless, universal aspects of human existence. While every myth can be seen as a type of story, not every story rises to the level of myth. TTRPGs overwhelmingly align with myth rather than story, particularly when examined through a Jungian lens. They channel archetypes, facilitate psychological and symbolic exploration, and serve quasi-ritualistic communal purpose. While TTRPGs incorporate elements of story, conscious creativity, cultural specificity, etc., their core nature as interactive, emergent, and archetypally resonant experiences places them firmly in the realm of modern myths. Potential objections. Some might argue that TTRPGs, being products of human creativity and not unconscious revelations, lack the depth of true myth. However, Jung explains in the Archetypes in the Collective Unconscious that art and imagination can serve as vehicles for the unconscious, meaning that the stories and archetypes in TTRPGs may still emerge from the same symbolic wellspring as ancient myths, channeling archetypal energies from the collective unconscious and facilitating symbolic exploration. In conclusion, obviously, there's much more to this topic than what I've presented here, especially with the ritual element of myth. In fact, I'm developing an entire thesis on it, but I've reviewed enough in this video to be able to state that TTRPGs can indeed be considered a modern form of myth. They fulfill many of the same functions. They explore archetypes, address universal human experiences, and create shared narratives that foster connection and self-understanding. By merging storytelling, symbolic engagement, and communal participation, TTRPGs serve as an evolving mythic medium for the modern age. Thank you so much for bearing with me through this re-recording. I do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one, which I hope to have up soon. Thank you again.